Hey everyone, this is Angel from Epic Gaming with a brand new video for God of War. In this video I'm going to show you some tips in case you're having a rough time completing the 4th Muspelheim Trial in normal difficulty in Give Me God of War. I'm not gonna lie to you, this was probably one of the most or the most complicated challenge from my first playthrough in Give Me God of War difficulty. You have to be very patient, because this is a very long one. I'm talking about around 30 minutes or less, depending obviously on your skills, gear, and overall knowledge of the enemies in the game. You will have to defeat 100 enemies that will come at you in 15 different waves. And perhaps you will say, well, that doesn't sound so difficult, but the most important detail of all this is that during all this challenge, your health recovery will depend mostly on your gear, because it is very rare that you see a health stone pop. So, 100 enemies, no health stones, yeah, you need to find some workaround for this. The first and perhaps the most important is equipping the bitter squirrel Runic summon that will unearth stones for you to use in combat. If you're currently equipping shock arrows, he will give you up to 3 rage stones, and if you use the blue ones, it will give you health stones. It has a very long cooldown, but given that this challenge takes forever, you could use it multiple times. The second tip that I can give you is to take a detour to the realm of Niflheim and farm for any of the gear sets that you can find in that place. Each piece of any of those sets will grant a very small amount of constant health regeneration that can stack up to 5 times. The third tip, now that you're on Niflheim, if you decide to farm for a long time, you could get yourself the Epic Mistbourne Axe Pommel that has a low per activation chance to grant Healing Mist on any successful hit. Healing Mist regenerates health and increases Runic. But if you don't want to come even close to Niflheim, and I don't blame you, there are other options for you, less effective, but they can still help. Like the Deadly Grip of Vitality that grants a health burst on each axe skill, the Grips of Forgotten Flame that have a moderate per activation chance of any successful hit to grant Aura of Fire that restores a small amount of health, the Polished Crest of Survival with Duelist Health Burst that can grant a health burst on any successful parry, or the Talisman of Concentrated Vitality that gives you a burst of health. Now, with the gear covered, let's step into each wave of the challenge so you know what to expect. Wave number 1, from enemy count 100 to 91, you will face several Dragger. There are a couple of lava pools and the precipice that you can use in your favor, so you can speed things up. Wave 2, enemies 90 to 88, are a Traveler and a couple of Dragger. Take the Dragger down fast and focus on the Traveler. Remember, go for single hits instead of lengthy combos to avoid being interrupted by his attacks, and something that I have learned a little bit late, switch to light arrows to weaken him and speed the process. Wave number 3, enemies 87 to 85, 3 heavy Dragger. For these guys, the Charm of Infinite Storms comes pretty handy to avoid getting overwhelmed thanks to the Protecting Frost Circle. You can blast them off the cliff's edge with a Spartan Rage or Hyperion's Grapple, but if you're on a cooldown, just keep your distance and use other runic attacks as soon as possible. Wave number 4, enemies 84 to 79, Shield Draggers. These guys are easy, just don't forget to break their stance by double pressing the shield button. Wave number 5, enemies 78 to 72, Heavy Dragger with Flame Sword Dragger. This is probably one of the trickiest ones. Try to keep moving and use the pillars on the arena to block the enemy's line of sight. Use shock arrows and your runic abilities to bring the enemies down fast, trying to focus first on the sword guys and leave the heavy Dragger for last. Keep your distance with your axe in case you're low on health, and take your time. Wave 6, enemies 71 to 69, Double Axe Draggers. Easy peasy, draw them near the cliff and throw them off with your axe attacks. Wave 7, enemies 68 to 61, probably the most complicated one, 2 Travelers and multiple ice-throwing Hellwalkers. Oh boy, keep your distance at all times until you get rid of the throwing Hellwalker guys. Once you are alone with the 2 Travelers, just keep dodging their attacks until you find an opening to counter-attack. For this wave, I'll leave the full gameplay so you can have a better notion of what worked for me, but if you're ready to move on, go to the time on screen.
Not yet. At the ready. Not ready. Look out, father! Watch out!
Wave 8, enemies 60 to 55, Fire Throwing Dragger and Heavy Dragger. Take care of the throwing fire ones, leave the heavy for last, and keep your distance. Wave 9, enemies 54 to 49, Throwing Hellwalkers and Double Axe Dragger. Play a little bit defensively here, use the pillars to your advantage to block incoming projectiles while you battle with the Dragger, and, if you're feeling confident, use your parry to return the projectiles to the enemies and finish them off on the distance. Wave 10, enemies 48 to 46, Free Apes. Another very dangerous run, keep moving and dodging so they attack each other. Use your runic attacks to try to lower the health of one of the apes, and use him to attack the others. Wave 11, enemies 45 to 31, Sword Dragger and Shield Dragger. These ones will let you breathe for a while and lower your heartbeat. Just take your time, use your runic attacks to latch or lava pools to finish them off, and you're done. Wave 12, enemies 30 to 21, Multiple Dragger, same as the previous wave, just try not to get overwhelmed and you're good to go. Wave 13, enemy 20, an ape, just one. You've dealt with 3 at once, so one lonely ape won't be any problem. Wave 14, enemies 19 to 11, Ice Throwing Hellwalkers and Fire Throwing Dragon. Use the pillars to avoid being swarmed by projectiles and take them quickly using the Glaive Storm runic ability or any other attack. If you still have rage left, this is the moment to use it to bring their numbers down fast. Final stretch, Wave 15, enemies 10 to 1, Last Traveler and a bunch of Dragger. As with the other Traveler encounters, make the rest of the enemies your priority while keeping an eye on the Travelers. That's it. You got this.
It's a little easier every time, right?
Be sure to check out more God of War videos that I will be uploading to this playlist right here as a progress for the game, but for now, hope this is useful, thank you for watching, and keep enjoying the game.